Hello, this is Lydia and today I'm going to be showing you how to create this beautiful watercolour effect card using Newton's Nook Beautiful Blooms. I had a lot of questions on my blog when I created a card like this using the same sand set, so I thought it'd be a fun one to show you how I did it. So we're going to be using this set from Newton's Nook and it's called Beautiful Blossoms, and it has some beautiful delicate floral patterns with floral images, with quilled images inside, so it's looks like they've been quilled. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be stamping these and masking them. So what I've done is I've stamped these images onto some sticky paper and just cut round them to create the masks. I'm going to be using the large floral, this image here, and the small one. I'm going to be using the flowers with the rounded edges as opposed to the pointy one. Before we start, as we're going to be heat embossing the images, I'm going to be adding some anti-static powder. I have this embossing buddy anti-static bag, and I'm just going to make sure I've added all the powder to all over my piece of watercolour cardstock. I'm going to be starting my floral border with my favourite of the flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink it up with the Versamark and put it into place. While I have this stamp out, I'm just going to stamp it a couple more times, as this means this will be in the front of the arrangement. So the ones that you stamp first will be the ones that have got the full images, and the ones behind, because you're going to mask these off, will be behind in the floral arrangement. Once I have added the Versamark, I'm going to add some Wow Clear embossing powder, and this is the super fine that I'm adding. Give it a good tap, as you do not want any of the embossing powder sticking where you don't want it. If you do find that you have some embossing powder, just take a really soft brush and brush away the powder. Once you've stamped and added the embossing powder, now you need to heat up the embossing powder with a heat tool. Once you've done the first lot of flowers, what you're going to want to do is take the masks that match them and put them over the heat embossed images. Once I've added the mask, I'm then going to ink up the largest of the flowers with some more Versamark. Once I've inked it up, I'm then going to make sure my masks are properly in place before I add in my flower. I'm just going to be adding one of these. Once it's stamped, again bring in the scratch piece of paper and add in the embossing powder onto the image, tap off and then heat set. As before, add on the masks to all the flowers that you've stamped, and then also add in the larger of the masks. Now finally, I'm just going to move into the smaller flowers and add these in randomly to our arrangement. Once you're happy with the amount of flowers you've stamped, you're going to want to take the masks off again, bring in the scratch paper and add embossing powder to the Versamark images that you've just stamped. Again, tap off any of the excess, and if there's any that's anywhere you don't want it, just take another paintbrush and paint and just brush away the excess. Once you're finished with getting rid of the powder that you don't want anywhere, heat set the whole thing again. When watercolouring, I recommend that you tape your piece that you're working on down. I have a piece of plastic that I use, so once I've finished with my piece I can move it away. You could do it onto your surface if you didn't want to use your surface afterwards, but I always recommend that you do it onto a board. You could even use a piece of cardboard, a stiff piece of cardboard, so once it's drying you can move it out your way and get on with something else. I'm going to be using this set of watercolours from Kuretake. They're very, very popular on lots of blogs at the minute. I wouldn't want to try and say the name, so I'm just going to say it's a set from Kuretake, For my largest flower, I'm going to be painting it red. I'm going to be using the darkest red from here and also adding in an orange. So that's what I'm going to be using for this first flower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some clean water and I'm just going to cover the whole petal of my largest flower with clean fresh water, and I'm going to do this to all of the petals of the largest flower. I'm just going to add some pigment to my board, and I'm going to take this and I'm just going to add it to the bottom edge of my petals. The colour, because we've wet the petals, will run, and that's the effect that we want. Okay. With the effect that we're going for, we want two colours on these petals, so I'm going to add a orange to the top. And I'm just going to drop this in. Oops. Okay. To blend these two colours together, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a wet brush, but not too wet, and I'm just going to add some more water in to this centre area. The more water you have, the more your colours will move. So we're just adding water to this centre between the two colours. I added two colours to this flower here as I wanted this to be the focal point of our arrangement. The other flowers I'm going to use a colour and I'm going to tip it or add white to the centre just to make the colour an ombre look, and then so this will be the focal flower here. For the medium sized flowers I'm going to be using this colour here with the white in the centre. I'm going to do the same thing again of adding some fresh clean water to my petals. After I've wet all of the petals, I'm then going to take the colour that I've just shown you, the pool colour. It's like a turquoisey pool colour, and I'm going to add the colour to the tips of my petals. Just keep going in and adding colour to the tips. Once I've done that, I'm going to take the white, paint, and I'm going to add this to the centre of the petals, the base of the petals. For the colours to mix again as before, I'm going to add some more water in between where they meet. The third flowers, which I have 4 of these, I'm going to do a yellow in the centre of the base of the flowers with a white on the tips, just so these do not stand out as much as this flower again. So as before, take some clean water and wet all of the petals that we're going to be painting. So I've wet all the petals, I'm then going to take the yellow, which is the number 40, the really bright one, and I'm going to add this in to the base of my petals. As with the turquoisey colours, turquoise flowers, I'm going to add in white to the tips this time as in before I've used it to the base. If the colours need to be mixed a little, just use some fresh water. I want the centre of my flowers to all have the same colour, so I'm going to be using the gold, which is the number 91. It's a beautiful addition to this watercolour set. That I've never had a gold watercolour before, so it was very fun when this one arrived. So I'm just going to add these to the centres. I think the flowers pop a little bit more when there's a bit of a background to them. So to do this, what you're going to do is take some fresh clean water again and just go round the flower images. Careful not to touch the flowers inside again, as you will move the paint that you've just laid down. It's easier to do this in sections, so wet a bit of your paper around where you want it, and I'm using the number 61 the really nice sky blue, and I'm just going to drop this in. I'm not going to want it that dark, so just take a piece of tissue to take some of the moisture off your brush, and now this brush wants to draw some of that colour up. Take some clean water, will dilute the colour again. Happy with that bit, then take some more clean water and just carry on. Just add clean water down and add in a drop of the sky colour. And then just move it about with your brush to get it where you want it. To get the background to fade into the card, just take some more fresh water and just really add lots of it to the edge of the colour. Now I'm just going to leave this to dry. I'm going to be using a sentiment from the same stamp set, and it says, "If friends were flowers, I'd pick you." I'm going to take a black ink and I'm going to ink it up. I'm using Ranger Archival ink for this, as it's the blackest ink that I find that I have. And I'm going to place this sentiment by this flower here. If you're a follower of my blog, you'll know that I am a big fan of adding black and white papers with florals. So what I've done is I've taken a strip, I've added some double-sided adhesive to the back of this piece, and I'm just going to add it to the side of my card. I'm then going to take some scissors, turn the card over and just snip away the excess from the top. To add a bit of dimension to this card, as it would all be pretty flat if I just added this on now, I've added some double-sided foam tape to the back, and I'm just going to line this edge up with the other edge of my card. I really hope you've enjoyed watching this video on how to create this card today. Thank you so much for watching and have a beautiful day.